Shalom. First thing and foremost, I'm going to give all praises and glory and honor that's due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Kakodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone and rule well. Peace and blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect. You know, it's in the gospel, brother, lifting up the standard of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, wherever it may be. This is another lesson through the Spirit. This is wild. I did a show maybe about a week and a half ago regarding the deers, not the deers, but like the squirrels and the rabbits. They call deer wart images now in Trinity photos of zombie rabbits and squirrels. Now I just typed in zombie deer and rabbit, and it gave me a plethora of images. And also from the New York Post, it says freaky photos of black bubble deer go viral after fears of zombie rabbit squirrel spreads. Okay. We know that something is going on here now. To the extent, it's hard to really say, but with Esau, with his pseudoscience and his Frankenstein capabilities, when he's splicing and mutating genes and creating these particular hybrids of animals through gain of function and pathogens and so forth, we understand that it's something that's going on within the energetics of America, and people are really taking a blind eye to it. But to get technically honest, it's really the plagues of the Heavenly Father. It's really the Most High. This thing is getting ready to turn to a nightmare scenario. And I don't think people realize how severe this judgment upon Babylon the Great is getting ready to get. Okay, this thing is getting ready to break out in hives, man, because you got to understand the scriptures goes into the noise and pestilence, which goes into the missiles. It goes into the four-sword judgment. Okay, the beast to slay, the sword to, the beast to tear, the sword to slay. Okay, the noise and pestilence, the diseases, the different pandemics. And there's no coincidence that CDC came out a couple years ago with this whole ZOMBIE apocalypse going back into 2021. You know, even though it could have been satirical or satire, which is basically make-believe, but a what-if scenario, you know, based on fake scenarios, but it's possible. Okay, now I looked up some information last night, and I got a video I want to play. But I looked up a video, and it went into how back in 1995 you had what they call the Illuminati card game, and a lot of those predictions, which, you know, that's the left-hand priesthood, that's totally at work, because the Heavenly Father, he controls both sides. He controls the left and the right. So there's a left-hand priesthood that Esau Edom, he goes off of, right, with his witches, his warlocks, his soothsayers, you know, his demons, and ultimately his allegiance to the spiritual demon Satan. They have certain revelations on the left-hand side that the Most High has allowed for them to play out on the planet Earth to fulfill particular agendas to bring forth prophecy. And when you go into the Illuminati card game, a lot of it is on point. All right. Now, we're not saying that they're following that by the playbook, because there are different scenarios, and you have what if plots. If this don't work, then we have to have a plan in place in case that don't work. But either way it go, it leads to the same conclusion. OK, I knew something was up back in 2020, and I think, or 2021, or maybe 2023. I can't remember when the Georgia Guidestones were knocked down, maybe 23. But when the Georgia Guidestones were totally knocked down and they was destroyed, quote unquote, that's when I knew that Esau Edom was getting ready to release something. Well, the Most High was getting ready to release something through this devil on the planet Earth that's getting ready to take out 6.5 billion people. Now, how successful that will be, we don't know. But the scriptures do go into a time of great death and judgment. OK, so it says zombie deer are infected. Let me see what this is, first of all, before I go there, because this might not be the same thing. OK, this may be something totally different than what we're looking at, but we're going to read it anyway for edification because it all ties into. But it says zombie deer are infected with chronic wasting disease, which is CWD, and a fatal neurological illness caused by prions, while zombie rabbits and other animals are exhibiting grotesque growths due to fibromas caused by a specific papilloma virus, not a true zombie outbreak. It says, while the CWD is serious concern for deer populations and may have potential risk for humans, the fibrovirus causing the deer warts or Frankenstein rabbits is not transmissible to people or pets. So they say. Okay, until they capture one of these things. And who knows, Esau probably caught one, because remember a couple of years ago when the monkeys somehow, some way disappeared off some type of truck, and all of a sudden they was just running rampant in America, and we've never heard from it again. So who knows what Esau did? Okay, he could have caught one, he could have affected it with a particular pathogen and put it back among population to see how it works and mutates, and, you know, testing and doing experiments on these different hybrids of animals, and somehow, some way, this shit can be transmissible to humans now. Okay, because this is the type of devil you're dealing with. See, we can't take it off the realm of playbook with Esau, because Esau, he's the devil. Okay, he's the harbinger of death. But it says chronic wasting, a fatal, untreatable, and contagious disease that affect the brain and nervous systems of deer, elk, and moose. How it spreads, caused by abnormal proteins called prions that induce other proteins in the brain to misfold, leading to a progressive and devastating neurological condition. It says symptoms may drool, stumble, have a blank stare, and show other behavioral changes. Risk to humans. While CWD is not known to be a significant risk to humans, some studies have raised concerns about the potential for novel human and human transmission. Okay, and right there is the key, because like I mentioned, Esau likes to take things and he likes to experiment with things. Okay, as the scriptures say, you're forgers of lies, you're physicians of no value. Okay. What it says, fibromas, deer warts, and deer rabbits and squirrels. What are they? It says these are flesh-like growths and tumors on the skin and mucous membranes of animals, often described as deer warts or Frankenstein rabbits. It says caused by specific species-specific papillom. What is it called? Papillomavirus. No, it's papillomavirus, and transmitted diseases carrying insects like mosquitoes and ticks, as well as direct contact. While they're not zombie, despite their disturbing appearance, these viral infections do not affect the brain and are not a sign of a zombie outbreak. But wait a minute, it just says neurological above. So neurological deals with the mind, right? Neuro. It says keep distance from any animal showing symptoms of CWD. Do not feed wild deer over cervix or other cervix, as this concentrates animal to increase disease transmission. All right. It says while there's no treatment for these growths, it is best to keep safe distance from affected animals to ensure that pets do not come in contact with them. All right. So this is the pictures of it. And this look like something straight out of The Last of Us, to be technically honest. So if you see shit like this running around out the blue, then just know something is at hand. And this is really the plagues hitting the earth, man. All right. So this is the book of Leviticus 26. And 16, and it says, and I will also do this unto you. Even this is going back into the curses, reiterated, but it says, I will even appoint over you terror. Okay, and this is a form of terror, because Jacob's trouble, all types of stuff is going to be transparent out here, man. Okay, pestilence, famines, race wars, civil wars, class wars, martial law. All right, all types of things, man. Hey, it ain't nothing off the table with Yahweh Shem Yahushai, because the scriptures go into that there's nothing that the Most High can't do. He can do anything. And with these particular shows like The Last of Us, Walking Dead, yeah, there may be fiction, you know, a work of fiction. But regardless of it, they're putting it in your face for a reason, because, I mean, they are particular viruses that can cause a human to act in a zombie-like manner, man. And in fact, to be technically honest with you, you got shit here in America where you got roughly altogether, and I'm counting the ones that's not on paper, you got roughly 450 million people here. Okay, on paper they say between 330 and 350 million people. But out of that 450 million people, man, 400 million of these people, they're zombies anyway. And those are the ones that's not in the truth. Okay, and even the ones that's in the truth, that's not pushing the correct and authentic doctrine of Yahushai, they're zombies, man. All right, because they don't know what the hell is going on. They're under a spell. But it reads, it says, I will even appoint over you terror, consumption, and the burning ague, and they should consume the eyes, man. Okay. And it says, and cause sorrow of heart, and ye should sow your seed in vain, and your enemies should eat it. Right now, this is going into the curses. But regardless of it, man, terror. Okay. Because this is a fearful sight. Okay. Matter of fact, let's go here to the book of Matthew 24. and get precept here. This is the book of Matthew 24, and I'm going to start at verses. It says, men's hearts fell in them of fear. Matthew 24, and let's go here. Mark 13. Maybe in Luke. Let's get it in Luke. I remember it being in Luke 21. Because they roughly say the same thing, but it's worded different. Yep. This is the book, Luke 21. And I'm going to start at verses 25. It says, and there should be signs in the sun, and in the moon, and in the stars, and upon the earth, distress of nations with perplexity, the sea and waves warring, men's hearts failing them for fear. That's going into heart attacks, man. All right. It says, and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth, for the powers of heaven should be shaken. So when you see something like this, you want to stay completely away. But what if you have a whole horde of these things running around here? And it's not far-fetched because the scriptures goes into various type judgments, man. And then, people getting affected. Everybody that shot that three-pointer 2-3 years ago, hey, people are getting ready to turn into something that's not conducive to life, man. Because if you look at the way people are behaving, people are totally bugged out. They're aggressive. All right. The way that they deal with one another. I mean, people, they don't even have the proper reasoning skill anymore. Okay. You look at somebody wrong, they're ready to crash out on you, man. It's a real dog-eat-dog world. All right. So anyway, I got this article here and I want to play this video, which, the video, you got to take it with a grain of salt. But nonetheless, they are bringing out articles. Some may be from accredited sources. Some may just be, independent articles or independent journalism. But it's still good to kind of have these things, as an insight in the back of your mind, even if you don't go off them verbatim. But I mean, New York Post, people kind of swear by this and then it's like a hit and miss. But it's being put out there for a reason and people are seeing these ordeals and it's something to cause for concern. So it says, nightmarish photos of deer growing mutant-like black bubbles are now spreading like wildfire on social media. Soon after sightings of growth ravaged squirrels and rabbits across the U.S. sparked fears of disease outbreaks. It says the slow of images popping up online shows various deer roaming through backyards. See, so they're in the metropolis area, they're in the cities and in the wilderness while covered head to hoof in huge boar-like warts. Is that it? I thought it was a little bit more on that. Yeah, read a little more. Here we go. Like, how the hell does this thing even see? But it says, despite being grotesque looking, the golf ball-sized warts, officially known as fibromas, are just non-cancerous tumors, according to the wildlife officials. But the warts can spread from deer to deer. Most even grow on an animal's head and neck, but rarely affect the overall health. So you have a completely healthy-looking deer jumping around with warts on his damn face. That's going to bug anybody out. And the funny part about it is, too, that a lot of these animals that they may catch, they may slaughter them. So a lot of the meats, like venison, deer, this is a edible animal here. Okay, when you go into the dietary law, Leviticus the 13th, I think it's the 13th chapter, Leviticus 11, I believe it's the 11th chapter when it goes into the dietary law. Venison is actually a clean animal that you can eat. Okay, because it's cloven-footed and the hoof is divided, and on top of that, it cheweth the cud, it eats the vegetation, so a deer is pretty clean. Some of the best meat you can have, like deer sausage, but even then, now with this tainted meat that they're selling, who knows what type of hormones and viruses it has been pumped with, so it's good to be, very mindful what you're eating. But it says here, the freaky photos started going viral after sightings of zombie squirrels and Frankenstein rabbits stoked concerns about a possible plague outbreaks across the country. It says reports of cottontail rabbits sporting black tentacle-like growths out of their heads in Colorado, Minnesota, and Nebraska recently prompt warnings to steer clear of mutated animals. See, when you go into mutate, right? Look up what mutate means. It means to change, all right? with reference to cell DNA molecule undergo or causal undergo change in the structure of genetics, change in form and nature. All right, so these things are different. So everybody that shot that J, they basically mutating because the code inside that technology is rewriting your structure that the Lord has programmed in you, your D to the N to the A. It's like you're a whole different patent now. They got a patent on you. You see, so you're basically mutated. So you're not the same anymore. So when you think of somebody mutating, they're different. But it says the unsettling deformities are the result of cottontail polyomavirus, the CRPV, a bug that spreads when the mosquitoes, ticks, or fleas bite infected bunnies and then pass it along to others. And the bugs have been horrid for the last 6-7 years. These bugs have been out of control. Okay. It says days later, squirrels covered in pus-filled boils were reportedly spotted skulking through parts of Maine. But while some were quick to dub the critters zombie squirrels, wildlife experts said it was likely the result of a squirrel fibromatosis, a viral skin disease caused by the lepropoxy virus. But despite its scary look, the Maine Department of Inland Fisheries and wildlife officials recently told the Bangor Daily News that the residents do not need to fear the squirrels because they pose no threat to humans or birds. Yeah, okay. Sure. As soon as them frequencies hitting their ass, then you're going to be speaking different. All right. Matter of fact, let's go here. I think it's Jeremiah 16. Jeremiah 16. Nope. Maybe Jeremiah 15. This is the book of Jeremiah 15. And I'm going to start at verses 3. It says, and I'm going to point over them four kinds, says the Lord, the sword to slay, and the dogs to tear, and the fowls of heaven, and the beasts of the earth to devour and to destroy. So these things are going to ultimately get spurs on them, man. And whatever Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai seems fit to do, he's going to do it, man. All right. Now, I want to play this video real quick. This is Jeremiah 78. That's a good one here. Psalms 91. Jeremiah 26. The pestilence. Sword. Because the scriptures goes all into pestilence. Bingo. Ezekiel 5. Found it. All right, but let's play this video real quick. And fair use, fair use. This is from Minutes of Horror. I mean, like I said, you could take it with a grain of salt. All right, but regardless of it, it is making some noise here. So fair use, fair use, fair use.
Videos, strange and odd news stories, and as always, let's go ahead and get right into today's video. So for the past couple of videos, I have been reporting on how all these animals, all these creatures, have been infected with something around the exact same time. We have been hearing news about the zombie deer, the zombie squirrels, and these rabbits with horns and tentacles all across their faces and heads, all happening at the exact same time. There are fleas carrying the plague, radioactive shrimp, and like I reported on not too long ago, there are now multiple species of ticks now carrying a disease where if they bite you, you become allergic to all kinds of animal products. Before, this was something only seen in Texas.
Yeah, that was like Lyme's disease. When you get like Lyme's disease, it ticks. Basically, that's why they tell you when you work out in the field and you're in a grassy area, wear long boots and long socks and have some type of repellent, because once they dig into the skin, they put some type of chemical in the blood, and before you know it, red meat is your biggest enemy. So it's called Lyme's disease.
Carried by a tick called the Lone Star tick, but now they're being seen as of 2025 all across the United States and other areas. Now they are saying that there are zombie spiders infected by never before seen fungus are invading American homes. Reading this article from the Daily Mail, it says, a mysterious fungus is turning spiders into real-life zombies, consuming their organs and taking control of their behavior, known as, I'm not even going to pronounce that, you can see that right there. The fungus attaches to the spider, invades its body, and devours it from the inside out. This sounds like something out of The Last of Us. The article goes on to say it then manipulates the spider's brain chemistry, altering dopamine levels to force the insect out of its web and into the open, where it ultimately dies. Afterward, the fungus sprouts fruiting bodies from the corpse, releasing spores to infect new spiders and continue its deadly cycle. Researchers said it is difficult to determine how long the zombie spiders survive, but some estimates suggest that it may live up to 3
Have you heard about drop-in bathrooms? This company is looking for homeowners to trial these brand new
weeks. Americans have found the white encrusted corpses in their attics and crawl spaces. People in the United Kingdom have spotted them in their gardens and caves, and residents in the Czech Republic have reported infected spiders in their basements. Scientists stress that the spider poses no threat of turning humans into zombies, like in the popular video game or the HBO series The Last of Us, where a fungus infects people, takes control of their minds, and sparks a global apocalypse. This microbiologist at the Natural History Museum of Denmark said, infecting humans would require many, many millions of years of genetic modifications. But I just wonder if certain individuals that really like to genetically modify things, like GMO mosquitoes, GMO flies, and so forth, could they genetically modify these parasites to speed up the process? Now, I'm not saying they would, but while this fungus was never ever seen before in the United States and identified in Ireland, for whatever reason, it has now surfaced in states like Minnesota and upstate New York in the United States. I mean, again, it can't infect humans, it just needs to be genetically modified to do so. And I just happened to run across this right here that was posted a while ago, where it shows the Illuminati card game, a card game I've spoken about quite often on this channel, because certain cards in this game have come to fruition, and it asks, are they showing us a zombie outbreak? Matter of fact, I'll also...
And this is what I'm talking about right here. Now, I was reading the comments and people was like, well, it looked like they could be attacking a food supply. It could be, but, you know, Esau's a little bit more sloppy than that. I mean, I'm not saying that ain't the case, but, you know, this is more than a two bird and one stone scenario. So whatever's going on, hey, the Lord will bring it to light, but it tells you here the withering curse, etc. 1995, Zombie Eaters game is known for accurate predictions. I mean, why are they putting this out there? They got the three-letter word, the CDD. And we know that they're responsible for putting patents and putting certain things out there to get a reaction, okay? Because all these, at the end of the day, this company here, this corporation is owned by the small hats, this government entity. So,
talking about this card game in another segment of this video as well. But before we go ahead and get into that and talking about fungus, this news has come out, and reading this from The Hill, Candida auris cases nearly triple as deadly fungus spreads to new states. Continue to read the article. It says the number of Candida auris infections reported to the Center of Disease Control and Prevention this year has nearly tripled in the past 3.5 months as healthcare providers struggle to contain the drug-resistant and deadly fungus. At the end of April, the CDC has recorded 1,052 Candida auris by August 9th. The last week of available data, the total number of cases had grown to 2,809 cases across 21 states, surpassing the number of cases we saw at this time last year. In the past 3 months, Kansas, Kentucky, Mississippi, and Tennessee recorded their first cases, joining 17 other states that were already tracking the fungus spread in 2025. Of the roughly 2,800 cases reported so far this year, about a quarter, or 727 cases, were reported in Texas alone. Candida auris can be hard or impossible to treat because antifungal medications aren't effective. If you get infected by this pathogen that's resistant to any treatment, there is no treatment we can give you to help combat it. You're all on your own, says this assistant professor. So what is going on here? All these creatures infected at one time, these news stories of new fungus and old fungus growing at a very rapid rate. Is somebody out there causing a problem or exacerbating a current problem? I believe so. Remember that story that came out not that long ago, matter of fact this year, where these Chinese nationals, they were students here, they were arrested having this fungus that was meant to destroy the crops, infect animals, and so forth. So do all these stories have something to do with that? Because that story, that rabbit hole, ran very, very deep. Or is something else going on here altogether, like some kind of inside job? I don't know. But what I do know is that when it comes to all these cases happening at one time as of 2025, this is anything but natural. I mean, how much longer until they possibly modify some type of fungus that could truly impact the human brain?
right. And that's kind of where I'm at with it, because we know Esau, he's the devil. All right. So this is the book of Wisdom of Solomon 11. And I'm going to start at verses. Let's start at verses. This whole, I kind of want to find a starting point. Let's start at 14. It says, "For when they respected with scorn, when he was long before thrown out, at the casting forth of the infants, him in the end, when they saw what came to pass, they admired, but for foolish devices of their wickedness, wherewith being deceived, they worship serpents, void of reason, vile beasts," because this is all due to people's idolatry. It says, "Thou didst send a multitude of unreasonable beasts upon them for vengeance," man. When it says unreasonable, these are meaning that you can't plead when the Most High has the scope pay on you. You can't plead with a tiger or a lion or bear, you know, something that's literally out to get you. You can't plead with that, especially if the Lord has his judgment on you. It says here that they may know, and wherewithal a man sinneth, by the same also he should be punished. For the almighty hand that made the world of matter without form, when it not means to send among them a multitude of bears or fierce lions or unknown beasts, for the rage newly created, breathing out a fiery vapor or filthy scents of scattery smoke or shooting horrible sparkles out of their eyes, man. All right. So your Heavenly Father has things that we can't even begin to fathom. It says, "Whereof not only the harm might dispatch them at once, but also the terrible sight utterly destroy them." Okay. It says, "Yea, and without these might they have fallen down with one blast, being persecuted of vengeance and scattered abroad throughout the breath of thy power. But thou hast ordered all things in measure and number and weight." Okay. So Yahweh Shemel Shah is no joke. It says here, "For thou canst show thy great strength at all times when thou wilt, and who may withstand the power of thy arm." So, hey man, the Lord's getting ready to get busy on you people out here. For all you scoffers, you people that still in doubt about what the hell is going on, and you dudes are playing games with Yahweh Shemel Shah's word. Hey man, this thing is getting ready to get real. Okay, it's going to get real nightmarish out here in America, man. And I don't think people really understand the concept of what the hell Yahweh Shemel Shah is getting ready to do. All right, Psalms 91. All right, this is the book of Psalms 91, and I'm going to start at verses 4. It says here, "He should cover thee with his feathers, and under his wings shalt thou trust. His truth should be thy shield and buckler." This truth is all we have. It says, "Thou shalt not be afraid of the terror by night," because this is Jacob's trouble. It's considered, it's going to be like a freaking horror movie out here. All right, like us speaking about it, we can't do it justice just by speaking about it, because when it manifests, it's going to be on a whole different level outside of what we're reading. And it says here, "And nor for the arrow that fly by day, nor the pestilence that walketh in darkness, nor for the destruction that wasteth at noonday. But 1,000 shall fall at thy right, at thy side, and 10,000 at thy right hand, but it shall not come near thee. But only with thy eyes shalt thou behold and see the reward of the wicked, because thou hast made Yahweh, which is thy refuge, even the Most High, thy habitation. Therefore shall no evil befall thee, neither shall any plague come near thy dwelling." It says, "For he should give his angels charge over thee, to keep thee in all thy ways, and they shall bear thee up in thy hands, lest thou dash thy foot against the stone. And thou shalt tread upon the lion and the adder, and a young lion and a dragon shall trample on the foot." Okay, so when all hell break loose, when we don't have any type of sustainability because the society is totally in shambles, that's when the Most High is going to actually take the wheel, and we're going to start to see those miracles play out, that standard being lifted, us being completely shielded. We're going to actually feel the protection of the Heavenly Father, man, while these people are out here getting jacked up, to say the least.
Brain and really cause something like we always see on TV when it comes to all these shows that have to do about zombies. This person replies to the article with, "Bro, are we in a zombie apocalypse? Because this isn't normal. Like zombie squirrels, zombie rabbits. He forgot the zombie deer, now the zombie spiders, and who knows what other type of creatures are out there that they're going to say are zombies. What the hell is happening? What is happening indeed?" Let us also not forget when the CDC announced plans for a zombie apocalypse, a zombie preparedness guide. Now, while that may have been like some kind of lighthearted attempt to get people prepared for just about anything, what if it was some kind of like truth in plain sight moment?
The government is trying to prepare us for this. a zombie apocalypse. The infamous astrologer Nostradamus predicted something like this could happen in 2021. Specifically, he said a scientist is going to create a, quote, biological weapon that will bring the dead back to life. CDC says, well, that's not likely to happen, but just in case, the agency wants you to be prepared. They have a new ad campaign telling you to get ready for the emergency. It includes this poster advising you to get a kit, make a plan, and be prepared. CDC experts say you should
I remember that.
prepare for zombies just
He was bugging out because the lights were turning like purple, like a dark purple, during the time of the such and such. They still have lights like that out where I stay at on a particular side of the city. Them lights are like, which I'm not saying that mean anything, but back in 2021, everybody was bugging out, man, because they was like, oh, man, the luciferase and this and this and that. People was bugging out, but that got a lot to do with, Esau's 5G shit, technology, all that stuff. So,
like you would prepare for any real-life emergency. They want you to create an emergency kit with essentials like food and water, medications, important documents, and first aid. You can find the full zombie survival guide or advice for any other emergencies. It's up right now on the CDC website. As hilarious as that may seem. 2020 and 2021 brought us things that we never expected. So why rule it out? Why not just prepare?
The day the
zombies
show up will be the day. Yeah, you won't see me.
Well, exactly. Me either. We won't be at work. We'll be with the zombies.
So the question happens to be, is the next card about to be played? And the card I'm talking about comes from the Illuminati card game, the game of conspiracy. This one right here, flesh-eating bacteria. What happens to be interesting is that this is considered an attack. Reading the description, it says, disaster, this is an attack to destroy any place. It does not require an action. Its power is 20. This is not an instant attack. Any science group can aid the target place. The Center for Disease Control has tripled the power to...
I hate that they keep saying that damn name, because usually when you say that name too much, it triggers the algorithm and they be quick to hit you with some medical misinfo. And they ain't saying nothing medical, man.
Aid the target place. Now, again, I'm not referring back to this card game in the way of tarot reading or predicting the future. I'm trying to show that the so-called powers that be use this card game to tell us what they're about to do ahead of time, something we've seen time and time again when it comes to other cards, but not just this card game, but also other forms of media like movies, music videos, and so forth. Now, with that being said, as of this year, I have been seeing an increase of flesh-eating disease in the news. Matter of fact, reading this news article right here, someone asked just that, are we seeing more and more cases of flesh-eating bacteria as of 2025? And the response was yes. Health officials report an increase in flesh-eating bacteria cases in 2025, more so along the Gulf Coast, with Louisiana and Florida seeing higher than average numbers of infections and deaths. So I wasn't really going to go and talk about this, but I have been noticing more and more interesting news articles when it comes to flesh-eating bacteria. For example, this news article from clinicaladvisor.com, it goes on to say that infections from flesh-eating bacteria are spreading to new areas, and this was published on August 22nd. So basically, the article is telling us how cases of flesh-eating disease as of 2025 have been appearing in states that normally do not get them. For example, while most infections are reported between May and October in Gulf Coast states, cases have been documented as far north as New England, where a recent case on Massachusetts Cape Cod prompted a public health alert. They're saying the reason why all these new states are getting flesh-eating disease happens to be because of the climate. But now it's been reported that Maryland had a case of the flesh-eating disease, and this did not come from the climate, but it came from a parasite. This is supposedly the very first time this has ever happened in the United States. Reading this article from The Guardian, first human case of flesh-eating screwworm parasite confirmed in the U.S. The article goes on to say the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services on Sunday reported the first human case in the United States of travel-associated New World screwworm, a flesh-eating parasite, from an outbreak-affected country. The case, investigated by the Maryland Department of Health and the United States Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, was confirmed by the CDC as New World screwworm on August 4th and involved a patient who returned from travel to El Salvador, an HHS spokesperson said in an email to Reuters. Now, interestingly, the article goes on to say that earlier, Reuters reported that the beef industry sources said last week that the CDC had confirmed a case of New World screwworm in a person in Maryland who had traveled to the United States from Guatemala. The spokesperson did not address the for about a week, and then they fall off and burrow into the ground to pupate. So I definitely believe that this story will have more repercussions for the future. They're going to say that they did not get all the larvae and that more flies hatch, breeding more flies, and that,
Okay, that's enough on that. Like I said, you can take it with a grain of salt, whatever, but at the end of the day, we're seeing judgment. It's the book of Ezekiel 5, and I'm going to start at verses 11. It says, "Wherefore as I live, says Yahweh, surely because thou hast defiled my sanctuary with all thy detestable things, and with all thy abominations, therefore I will also diminish thee. Neither should my eyes spare, neither would I have any pity. And a third part of thee should die of the pestilence and with famine. Pestilence is diseases, and they should be consumed in the midst of thee. And a third part shall fall by the sword round by thee, and I will scatter the third part into all the winds, and I will draw out the sword after them. Thus shall my anger be accomplished, and I will cause my fury to rest upon them, and I will be comforted, and they shall know that the Lord hath spoken it in my zeal, when I have accomplished my fury in them." So judgments. Moreover, hold on. I lost. I think, did I lose it? Oh, going down here. As a matter of fact, we just read it all. And it reads, it says, "Moreover, I will make thee waste and reproach among the nations that are round about thee, in the sight of all that pass by. So it should be a reproach and a taunt and an instruction and an astonishment unto the nations that are round about thee, when I execute judgments in thee, and in fury and furious rebukes. I, the Lord, have spoken it." So the Lord has a judgment appointed for this place, man, and our people, 2/3. "And I will send upon them the evil arrows of famine, which shall be for their destruction, and I will send to destroy you, and I will increase the famine upon you, and will break your staff of bread." So one guy said that, hey, they're attacking the food supply, which, it's feasible, it's plausible. And it says, "So I will send upon you famine and evil beast, and they shall bereave thee, and pestilence and blood shall pass through thee, and I will bring the sword upon thee, and I, the Lord, have spoken it." And when it goes into being bereaved, means they're going to take your kids too. All right, the Lord said he was going to bereave you of children. You see? One last precept, and I'll end it. It's going to get real scary, real nightmarish out here real soon, man. You ain't going to know what it is. You're like, damn, is this really America? Yep. 2nd Ezra 16 and 18, it says, "The beginning of sorrows and great mournings, and the beginning of famine and great death, the beginning of wars, and the power shall stand in fear, the beginning of evils." It says, "What shall I do when these evils come?" And that's the question the men of the Lord asks daily. Are we going to be protected? It says, "Behold, famine and plague and tribulation and anguish are sent as scourges for amendment. But for all these things they should not turn from their wickedness, nor always be mindful of their scourges," man. All right. So anyway, I'm going to end it giving all praises and glory and honor that's due to Yahweh, Ba'ashim, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashim, Rakakwadash. Lord's will, you will edify. Into the next lesson. Shalom.